page 1 of the opening recitations. Dala Dongwa Jebe Dra Nopar Jebe Gek Darba Dan Tam Je Kembe Bardu Chopara Jeba Tam Je Gisu Jebe Ma Nangka Dan Nyampe Sen Chen Tam Je Deva Dan Den Tung Yao Dan De Ne Du Lana Me Pa Yang Da Para Sobe Chanchu Rinpo Je Tompara Chan Dhala Dhangwa Jebe Dha Nopar Jebe Gek Tarpa Dang Tamche Kempe Pardu Chopra Jeba Tam Je Su Jebe Ma Nangka Dang Nyampe Senchen Tamche Deva Dang Den Dunga Dang De Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Tapara Sope Chanchu Rinpo Je Topara Cha Dhala Dhamma Jebe Dha Nopar Jebe Ge Tarpa Dham Tamche Kempe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tham Jege Su Jebe Ma Nangka Dang Nyampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Dham Den Tunga Dang De Nerdu Lana Me Pa Yang Dapara Sope Chanchu Rinpo Je Topra Cha De Je De Sama Ge Gi Bardu Lunga Yisum Ge Wala Gu Mashe Bardu Lunga Yisum Ge Wala Gu Du Tereng Ne Sunte Ne Ma Santa Samgi Bardu Lunga Yisum Ge Wala Gu. So that was both the aspiration and action bodhicitta. Now to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, starting on page 6, at the top of page 6, or rather page 5, the Tibetan. Sangye chodang soge chonam la changchu baridu dagni gyapsu chi dagi jinsu gibe sonang ki drola penchir sangye drupara shu sangye chodang soge chonam la changchu baridu dagni gyapsu chi dagi jinsu gibe sonang ki drola penchir sangye drupara shu Sangye chodang soge chonam la changchu bardu dagne gyapsu chi dagi jinsu gipe sonang ki drola penchir sangye drupra sho. Manang kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang dewe gyudan dempare gyurji dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudan drewa gyurji dungyao mepe dewa dang me drewa gyurji nering chadang nidang drewe dang nyong la nepra gyurji manang kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang Dewe gyudan tempara gyurji, dungao dang dungyao gi gyudan drawa gyurji, dungao mepe dewa dangme drawa gyurji, nering chadang nidang drawe, tang nyong la nepra gyurji, manang kadang nyampe senchen tamche dewa dang, Dewe gyudan tempara gyurji, dungao dang dungyao gi Gyudan Dewa Gyurji, Dungya Mepe Dewa Dangme Dewa Gyurji, Nering Chada Nidang Dewa Danyong La Nebra Gyurji. Bajra Samaja, Bajra Samaja, Bajra Samaja, Malu Semjeng Kungi Gungyurjing, Dude punje mize jumze la ngonam malu jishin kingyurpe jumden koje ne de shesu so arya gyam paryang pushpe tupe aloke gende nivede shabda prateja soham sa shi bu ju ju shing me to tam re ra ling shi ni de gen pa di sang ge shing la mi te bul wa ye ro gu nam da shin du jo pa ra sho cha se wa dan chu jing sha pa dan je se yi rang ku shing so wa ye ge wa chung se da ge ji sa pa tam je so pe chang chu ji rng o. If you can go back to page 5, just to introduce some vocabulary so that you get more used to, recognizing Tibetan vocabulary. Sangye, the first one is Sangye. Sangye is Buddha. Then Chu. Chu is Dharma. And then there are two other words that sound similar. Or potentially three. Three other words that sound similar. Chu is Dharma. So it's spelled in a certain way. Then another word, Chu, is to offer. So the first Chu is a noun. It means Dharma. Then Chu it sounds the same, but spelling is different. Is to offer. To offer. Then Chu, the end sounds stronger. Chu, that is to cut. Like the practice of Chu, to cut. So there is Chu, Dharma. Chu, to offer. And Chu, to cut. So Sangye is Buddha. In one short kind of message His Holiness recorded before he went into retreat, encouraging Tibetan people who speak Tibetan, people who learn Tibetan, because Tibetan language is Dharma language. In Bhutan, they refer to Tibetan as Chukye. They don't say Tibetan language, they call it Chukye, which means Dharma language, Chukye. Bhutanese people have their own language. Their main language is Songkha, but then there are various other languages, related languages in Bhutan spoken by different groups, but the main language is Songkha. It's also related to Tibetan, but then there is Tibetan called Chukye. So in a recent one recording His Holiness made before he went into retreat, he said to Tibetan-speaking people, he said, you should value, you should cherish Tibetan language because it's, first of all, so few people speak this language. Then secondly, more importantly, so much of the Dharma was translated into Tibetan, and so much of Dharma was written in Tibetan. And Tibetan language, when they translated Sanskrit into Tibetan, they were very careful not just to substitute sound for sound. In a way, right? Like we say Buddha to refer to the awakened one, Buddha. But Buddha is not a translation, that word, right? It's just substituting sound for sound. The Indian sound is Buddha. Then the English sound, so to say, Buddha. So Tibetan did not do that with Buddha. Tibetan used Sangye. Then with Sangye, if this was native to you, this language, when you hear Sangye, yes, what comes to mind maybe is same or similar to what comes to mind for us when we hear Buddha. As in, we think of, maybe first reference, we think of, oh, there is Siddhartha who became awake, who became Buddha. But beyond that, Buddha don't tend to communicate the full extent of what it means to be Buddha in ways that Sangye does. Sang is to dissipate, to clear, to dissipate. Ge is to expand, to grow. So then immediately when you hear Sangye, you know, Sangye is the state whereby all the defilements, all the mental defilements have been cleared, have been dissipated. And all the qualities, all the exalted qualities of Buddhas have been fully expanded. Therefore, Sangye. And so when we say Buddha, we should understand that is what Buddhas are. All defilements have been cleared. Therefore, Sang. All exalted qualities have been expanded. Therefore, Ge. Sangye. Changchup, next word, Changchup, is what we translate as awaken or awakening. So then the original Sanskrit for Changchup is Bodhi. So Changchup Sem. Changchup Sem is, maybe you can guess, Bodhi, mind. Sem is mind. Changchup Sem, body, mind. Body, chitta. Body, chitta, body, mind. Then, Dagi. Then, Kyapsu Chi. Changchup Parudu Dagni Kyapsu Chi. Kyapsu Chio is what's translated as I take refuge. But Kyapsu Chio, Kyap means to protect, actually. More literally, to protect. Like I go to Buddha Dharma Sangha for protection. For protection. We are existing in a very precarious state, the enemies that are the mental defilements, we are surrounded by mental defilements. And so we go to Buddha Dharma Sangha to be protected from the dangers of the mental defilements. So enough today, some vocabulary words, some vocabulary. So now let's go to the general laying aside text. The general laying aside text. Alas, great Guru Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who reside in the 10 directions and 3 times, I, who am called Kunju Ishidurji, supplicate you, turn your awakened attention to me. From beginningless samsaric time until this very moment, under the power of the afflictive emotions, attachment, aggression, confusion, pride, and jealousy, I have committed the 10 non-virtuous actions through the gates of my body, speech, and mind. I have committed the 5 heinous crimes and the 5 secondary heinous crimes. I have transgressed the individual liberation vows, transgressed the precepts of bodhisattvas, and transgressed the samayas of the great vehicle sequent mantra. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards the 3 jewels. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my gurus and teachers. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my father and mother. I have been faithless and disrespectful towards my companions in the pure spiritual life. I have abandoned the sublime Dharma and disparaged the noble Sangha. In short, I now lay aside all faults and transgressions whatsoever that have become obstacles to the higher realms and to liberation, and that have become the cause for samsara and the lower realms. Before you, the great Guru Vajra holder, and all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and 3 times I expose the faults. I confess them, I am contrite, I regret them, I will not conceal them, I will not hide them. Henceforth I will restrain myself and abstain from them. If I do not expose and lay them aside, they will not be transformed. Therefore, by revealing and laying them aside, may they be cleared, may I be purified. Namo to the mandala of you, victorious Idam deities. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Vajra exalted body. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the Padma exalted speech. I expose and confess the broken samayas of the perfect exalted mind. I expose and lay aside the broken root and branch samayas. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed knowingly. I expose and lay aside transgressions committed unknowingly. The 3 non-virtues of the body, the 4 non-virtues of speech, the 3 non-virtues of the mind. I confess each of the 10 non-virtues individually. With faultless disciplined conduct, possessing completely pure disciplined conduct, and through the disciplined conduct that is free of arrogance, may the paramita of disciplined conduct be perfected. To glorious Vajrasattva I pay homage. So instantaneously feel the presence of Guru Vajrasattva in the space above us. From Guru Vajrasattva's heart, the Hong syllable, elixir flows, filling Guru Vajrasattva's body completely.
I'm not quite sure how to
until
help with that.
Coming from the right big toe of Guru Vajrasattva is a cascade of elixir nectar, like a waterfall, that comes down to us and clears and flushes out all the mental defilements, negative karmic propensities, and ultimately our fixation to this body, this ordinary mundane body, as I, as me, as mine, that is cleared. Vajra Sata Samaya Manubalaya Baza Sata Denopati Tate Memo Sudokaya Memo Subokaya Memo Nurata Memo Samasa. Chidamsara Yanguru Hong Hao Magaman Samadana Basaman Jabazabo Mahasamaya Sado Vajra Sata Samaya Manubalaya Baza Denopati Tate Memo Sudokaya Memo Subokaya. Sarvasida Membaya Jasavakamasu Jamenjanam Janam Guru Hong Hao Bhagavan Samadhanagata Basamam Jabasabo Mahasamaya Sadhu Bajra Sada Samaya Manabalaya Basada Dinabada Dinabu Suto Gayo Memba Vasubogayo Memba Nurada Memba Vasavasida Membaya Jasavakamasu Jamenjanam Janam Guru Hong Hao Bhagavan Samadhanagata Basamam Jabasabo Bajra Sada Samaya Manabalaya Badana Denabadida Denamemo Zuga Memo Zubuga Memo Nurata Memo Sabasiri Memo Samakamasu Jame Chidan Srayang Guru Hong Hao Bhagavan Sabadana Gata Pesama Memo Jabazure Bawa Mahasamaya Sadua Bajra Sada Samaya Manabalaya Badana Denabadida Dedo Memba Vasudokaya Memba Vasubogaya Memba Nurata Memba Sabasiri Member Samakamasu Jame Jidam Srayang Guru Hong Hao Bhagavan Sabadana Gata Pesama Memo Jabazabo Mahasamaya Sado Om Bajra Sada Samaya Mandabalaya Mazasa Denaba Deda Memoa Sudoga Memoa Suboga Memoa Anura to Mebaba Sabasidi Membaya Jasabakama Sujamajam Zranguru Hong Ha Ho Bhagavan Sabata Takata Basama Memoja Basabama Mahasamaya Sado Om Bajra Sata Samaya Mandabalaya Bazasa Denaba Deda Memoa Sudoga Memoa Suboga Memoa Anura to Mebaba Sarvasiddhi Membaya Jasabagama Sajamaya Chidam Guru Hong Hao Bhagavan Savadharagata Besama Memoja Basiribava Mahasamaya Sado. Then go to our Mahamudra text, page 11 at the bottom. So first establishing, bringing into your presence the field of accumulations for accumulating both merit and wisdom, which is Guru Vajradhara in front, Idams to the right, Buddhas of past, present, and future, particularly the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon, then the noble Sangha, then in between all the spaces filled in by all the wisdom Dharma protectors with the wisdom eye, male and female all gathered around this field of accumulations. Then we make mandala offering starting from the bottom of page 11. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, 4 continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land, and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To you, sublime gurus, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. To you, Idam deities, and you, noble 3 jewels, I offer my body, possessions, and roots of virtue as an offering. Please accept them. O Gurus, Idams, and noble 3 jewels, I pray that you generate supreme realization within me. On page 14, again, recall the words of our precious Lord, Gyobajik Sungan. If the seed of love and compassion does not run for the benefit of others, it will not be rewarded by gods or humans. Attend earnestly, therefore, to this foundational attitude. This foundational attitude or this foundational mind, the basis of all our practices, is the 3 minds, which is the mind or the heart of unbiased, limitless loving kindness, unbiased, limitless compassion, and clear and firm commitment to attaining Buddhahood for the benefit and for the sake of all beings. These are often also called the 3 minds. So especially in the teachings of the early Gagyupas and the Kadampa masters, if you come across this expression, the 3 minds, then the 3 minds are referring to loving heart, compassionate heart, and then awakened heart in terms of commitment to awakening for the benefit of beings. These three minds can be cultivated according to the what we have in this text here. So the 7 points to consider, the 7 points to train in for loving kindness. And then the compassion one is shorter, but I supplemented that with this particular true core, right? Remember the true core of body, speech, and mind, the magical wheels of body, speech, and mind. It says, physically, body-wise, you adopt a position of sadness, face even, kind of deliberately bring a sadness to the face. Actually, in the instructions for cultivating love, loving kindness, it says you should do this with a smile on your face. So conversely then, with cultivating compassion, it says the true core of body is to adopt, a physical posture of sadness, and then sadness on the face. Sad because of what? Sad because of seeing the suffering of our mothers, right? And then the true call of speech is how pitiable these beings that harm me, how pitiable these mothers that harm me, how pitiable this mother who harmed me. The true call of speech is to repeat that like a mantra. And then the reflection on how pitiable all of us are. That despite wanting happiness, not wanting suffering, we rush towards suffering and along there viciously destroy all the causes of happiness, trampling on all the causes of happiness, rushing towards the causes of suffering. And when we can see, that despite our best intentions, despite what's most natural to do, which is to love, actually, despite what's most natural to do, we have all habituated suffering, so that when we suffer, we want others to suffer along. A perverse kind of compassion. Compassion in English literally means to suffer with. But most of the time, when we are suffering, we want others to suffer with us. Kind of misdirected, misfired to suffer with. And from there then developed understanding, develop tolerance, develop bigger space to be able to contain even harm bringers, even enemies, and one wishing them freedom from suffering and the causes of suffering. Then these two, right, leading to aspiration bodhicitta and action bodhicitta commitments, these two commitments. Then from there, specific to this manual, and for this purpose, for the purpose of actualizing bodhicitta, we shall now practice, right, the creation and completion stages of secret mantra. So again, looking at the bigger picture, Buddha's teachings are said to be as vast as 84,000. 84,000. There are various different approaches to these 84,000. One approach to the 84,000 dharmas, 84,000 teachings, 84,000 practices. One approach to these 84,000 is to say, choose any one of these, and by practicing any one of these, you will then be able to enter the Dharma and perhaps even to achieve Buddhahood. So that's one way of understanding the 84,000. The particular way in which Gyalpa Jigten Sumgön founder of Drigung Kagyu, founder of Drigung Kagyu lineage, who lived in the 12th, 13th century. He takes a different approach. He takes what I would consider, what I would call a more comprehensive, holistic approach, which is, he says, actually, all 84,000 dharmas are to be practiced. Rather than 84,000 choices, is practicing all 84,000 dharmas. Now, before you become intimidated, before this statement begin to feed your neurosis, it's not to be understood as, oh, I have 84,000 things I have to learn, 84,000 things I have to master. What he's really saying is, whatever dharma you are practicing, whatever dharma practice you are practicing, whatever teachings, dharma teachings that you're listening to, you need to understand that all of them are part and parcel of what is needed to actualize bodhicitta. Actualizing bodhicitta can also be further understood in two parts: actualizing relative bodhicitta and actualizing ultimate bodhicitta. Actualizing relative bodhicitta is the bodhicitta that we have been talking about. The aspiration to achieve the state of Buddha for the benefit of beings, and a commitment to practicing whatever is necessary, all that is necessary in order to achieve that. That's relative bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta is realizing the illusory, dreamlike nature of all experiences, of all phenomena. What does the path to Buddhahood consist of? It consists of actualizing these two bodhicittas. And so then to see all the 84,000 teachings as serving no other purpose than to lead to the actualization of these two bodhicittas. So then the 84,000 teachings all should be understood as part and parcel of what we need. So some moments even, not just some days, sometimes even for a few moments, we need this particular teaching. For a few moments, we need that particular practice. So do all of that in the service of, so to say, actualizing the two bodhicittas. So then, you don't need to think, oh, I'm doing this, then doing this, then doing this, doing that, practicing this, practicing that, listening to this, listening to that. In all that you practice, in all that you listen, in all that you reflect on, bring them all towards the goal of actualizing the two bodhicittas. So in the Lojong and 7-point tradition, one of the lines that is under the section of how to gauge, how to measure how well is your Dharma practice going, it says, when all the practices that you do converge on a single point, then you know, you are headed in the right direction. And that single point is to dispel, to defeat self-grasping. That's the single point. And so when all your practices are moving in that direction, then you know, yes, I'm doing this right. But if your practice is like, oh no, I'm doing this to create more wealth, I'm doing this to have more years to live, I'm doing this for dispelling obstacles, I'm doing this so that my business will be more smooth, this and that, then not quite yet. Things are not yet moving in the right direction. Maybe for some of you, you're like, strange, I never thought of practicing Dharma for that. But for some of you, you may have come to Buddhist practice, especially Tibetan Buddhist practice, because you think it will help those things. Actually, looking out there, I feel that most of you, don't come from that. Along the way, you might get confused and think it is for those things. But most of you, because actually most of you, not all, but most of you come from Kasa Tibet background. Actually, most of you are very well educated in the Dharma by Lama Tony, always emphasizing, what is the real purpose of Dharma practice. But other people who are attracted to Tibetan Buddhism tend to have a lot of magic thinking. Generally, I don't think that applies to many of you, so I'm very happy that you have such good roots, so you should rejoice in that. But in case some of this kind of magic thinking has entered your system, try to bleed them out, try to let Vajrasattva's elixir flush them out before they start going. So 84,000 dharmas. Then these 84,000 dharmas can be divided in various ways. And so one way that you're going to come across is talking about the three trainings. The three trainings. The three trainings is the training in disciplined conduct, Shila, the training in meditative stability, Samadhi, and the training in insight, clear seeing, prajna. Prajna, nya is to know, knowledge. Pra is an intensified, so superior knowledge, which is often translated as wisdom. These are the three trainings. Trainings in Shila, Samadhi, and Prajna. So all of Buddha's teachings can be understood as consisting of these three trainings. Then, of course, you are also familiar with what's known as the three vows. Then when we talk about the three vows are the trainings related to the vow of individual liberation. And then the trainings, all the trainings and precepts and do's and don'ts related to maintaining the bodhisattva vow, and then all the different pointers, different trainings, different rules of conduct, the do's and the don'ts related to protecting secret mantra Samaya. So these are the three vows. So these are all different ways to kind of divide Buddha's teachings to help us, kind of understand in a more conceptual way. Some of us need more of that, some of us need less. Then another one, a very common division you will come across is the division between what's known as Paramitayana, or the vehicle of characteristics. Paramitayana is the yana, the vehicle of the paramitas. Here referring to the 6 paramitas. Paramita yana. Or paramita naya. And naya is like a tradition. In Sanskrit, naya. Yana is vehicle, naya is tradition. So the tradition of the paramitas, there is referring to what we could call the exoteric Mahayana teachings and practices, which is most represented by, embodied by the practices of the 6 paramitas. So this is also sometimes called sutra approach. Then the other approach falls under the approach of secret mantra, which we also call Vajrayana. Paramitayana and Vajrayana. Okay? Now both Paramitayana and Vajrayana, they are both under this larger category known as Mahayana. So, what is this larger category of Mahayana? What makes the yana, what makes the vehicle Maha great? Bodhicitta is what makes it great. And so, whether you're practicing according to the sutra tradition exclusively, or you're practicing exclusively a secret mantra, in order to even qualify to be paramita or secret mantra, it has to be practiced under the embrace, under the context of bodhicitta. Then, specific to Kyoba Jigten Sumgön's emphasis, and he follows this, not his own creation, from how he was taught by his guru, Pamodrupa, and how Pamodrupa was taught by Gampopa. And Gampopa is the one, especially, to bring together some of the most kind of special characteristics of the Dakpo Kagyu family. Dakpo Kagyu. Dakpo is where Gampopa, the area that Gampopa was active in, is called Dakpo. And so the Kagyu tradition from Dakpo, from Gampopa. In the Dakpo Kagyu tradition, and especially the way Kyoba Jigten Sumgön teaches it, he says that, in fact, it is not possible to practice secret mantra without involving the sutra tradition. Likewise, to practice the sutra tradition without secret mantra is to handicap your practice, is to disadvantage your practice. And therefore, the sutra tradition should be combined with the secret mantra tradition and understood and practiced again as a complete, seamless coming together. So particularly again, in Drigong Kagyu, we don't actually emphasize so much the strong lines that divide the categories. Like, oh, this belongs to Sutrayana, this belongs to secret Mantrayana, or oh, this is Hinayana, oh, this is Mahayana, oh, this is Vajrayana over here. Rather, we do work with these divisions. We are educated enough to recognize and to understand these divisions, the three vows. But even as we differentiate things and say, oh, there are the three vows, oh, there are the three trainings, oh, there are the two types of Mahayana, secret mantra and sutra or paramita. Always in the Drigong Kagyu, we emphasize how all these parts form a complete whole. How all these different 84,000 even, forget about just three, even the 84,000 dharmas, they all come together to constitute a complete and thorough path to complete Buddhahood. So personally, I feel that when we are able to appreciate and to understand all the Buddha's teachings in this way, then we have less of a need to pick and choose, or to even feel that we have to pick and choose. Because the trouble with picking and choosing is we have a hard time, sticking to what we have picked and chosen. The problem of too many choices. On the one hand. On the other hand, some of us are wired differently. Then on the other hand, some of us might become very stubborn, very narrow. I have picked, I have chosen. Everything else, no. also becomes an obstacle. So then Dharma practice can become very rigid. It's good to be focused for sure, but sometimes it's hard to tell. Are we focused or are we becoming narrow and rigid? But if we adopt more and more the way Gyalpa Rinpoche taught and emphasized, like all 84,000 are one complete path to awakening, then there's less a need of always wondering, is this right for me? Is this right for me? No. Whatever Dharma you are practicing in that moment, that is right for you. Without needing to divide into, oh, this is preliminary, oh, that is profound. All dharmas taught by the Buddha are equally profound. It's like baking a cake, you know. Not that I know anything about baking cakes. I always fail when I try to bake. But and I fail enough to understand, you know. Like when you're baking a cake, right? It's foolish to say, oh, the flour, you know, is the most important ingredient. Or the eggs are the most important ingredient. Or vanilla is most important ingredient. No. Everything in their proper proportionate is what you need. No one, in fact, will foolishly think, you know, eggs are most important, so I will put more eggs. But that tends to be the way I, you know, try to bake, you know, not disciplined enough to follow the recipe, not knowledgeable enough to know how to modify the recipe, then I come up with something that cannot be eaten, or at least not worth eating, you know. So it's not, this is more important, that is less important. All the different teachings the Buddha has given, they all come together. They have their place, they have their role. So here, in the secret mantra, so now we have this division in this practice of the 5 aspects of Mahamudra. Bodhicitta, then idam, devotion, natural state Mahamudra, and finally, dedication. If you want to, again, look at these 5 and say, how can we kind of divide, or rather, how can we organize them differently? Then, bodhicitta and dedication, these two belong to, more explicitly, they belong to Sutrayana tradition. Idam practice, devotion, and natural state Mahamudra belongs more directly to secret mantra tradition. So in this way, the Fivefold Path is the combination of Sutrayana and secret mantrayana together. Then in more recent times, especially among the Gamakagyu tradition, they say that Gampopa taught, this is a fairly recent division system. They say that Gampopa taught Mahamudra in 3, they say, this system really, I think it's comes from Jamgon Kongtru, so about a century ago. So it's fairly recent, but it's become very common. I mention this because, you know, if you are like reading, you know, Mahamudra texts that are published, by various writers, you will come across a reference to that there are three types of Mahamudra. They call Sutra Mahamudra, secret mantra of Tantra Mahamudra, and finally, what they call essence Mahamudra. So, if we want to use this fairly recently developed way of dividing Mahamudra practice, then again, the first fold, bodhicitta and dedication, they fall under Sutra Mahamudra. Then Yidam and devotion, secret mantra. Then natural state Mahamudra, the fourth in our five aspects, fivefold, essence Mahamudra. So then again, these five, when they come together, they comprehensively cover all aspects of Buddha's teachings. And so the Fivefold Mahamudra is said to distill the essence of Buddha's teachings, the complete essence of the Buddha's teachings, of all the tantras, the sutras, and the treatises. They all are, the essence of them are to be found in this fivefold Mahamudra system. Let me look for sometimes too many texts. So anyway, yesterday, right, I said next thing we want to learn about in terms of the practice of the idam. We started with the mantra Om Swabhava, so on page 25. Then again, from this famous song of the Fivefold Mahamudra, Kyupa Rinpoche says, if with one's body, the king of deities' exalted forms, the stronghold of the unchanging ground is not seized, the retinue of Dakinis will not assemble. Attend earnestly, therefore, to this body as idam. So this is the essence of the instruction on idam. So then, there are three, you could say, ways of giving rise, generating, creating the idam deity. One is known as the three steps, process of the three steps. One is the instantaneous arising of the deity, and then another one is called the five awakenings. The five awakenings is the one that is often used to explain the generation, the creation of the Chakkasamvara deity. So there, in a later Mahamudra manual that seeks to expand on the main text that we're working on, quoting the Hevaja Tantra, it says, the moon possesses, or the moon is mirror-like wisdom. So the moon disk that that Chakasamvara will stand on. Recognize that as mirror-like wisdom. Then, from the seven-horse one, wisdom of equality arises. Can you guess what are the seven-horsed one? Who is the seven-horsed one? No? Sun. The sun. Seven-horsed. It's the way Indians depict the sun deity is that the sun deity rides on a chariot dragged along by seven horses. Sometimes it's seven little pigs. So the sun disk is the wisdom of sameness or equality. Then the seed syllable and the hand implement. So from the seed syllable arises first the particular hand implement. In this case, it's a vajra. Those two, so the Chakasamvara seed syllable is hung, hung within a vajra. That is the wisdom of discernment. So you have to kind of remember these correspondences being made. Then your creation stage is more robust, more complete. Then all accomplishment wisdom is diligently making them into one, according to the Hevajra Tantra. So making them into one means the Vajra and the seed syllable, making them into one. And then when that Hung in the Vajra transforms, that is the purity of the Dharmadhatu, and that is referring to the wisdom of the Dharmadhatu. These five aspects is the five awakenings. The five arisings. So furthermore, so awakenings, then you can also talk about the five awakenings, the five arisings from a slightly different perspective. Now, instead of emphasizing the five wisdoms, so when we link this beginning process of the creation stage with the five wisdoms, the main point there is like this is the, you have to think of this as the unfolding of the five wisdoms into this form of Chakasamvara, of Heruka Chakasamvara. Then the five awakenings can also be understood in this other way, which is awakening from the basis of emptiness. So this is explained yesterday when we say Om Swabhava Shuddha Savadhamma Swabhava Shuddho Hang. Right? In our text it says that on page 25, then think that all phenomena are by nature completely pristine, the emptiness of apprehended and apprehender, and nothing but mind, only mind. Or if you recite Om Shunyata Jnana Bhadra Swabhava Atma Kohang, then meditate that all phenomena are emptiness, cultivate the understanding, cultivate the recognition that all phenomena are emptiness, free from the extremes of conceptual elaborations, either of these. This is the basis. And what is this basis? The basis for the deity to arise is emptiness. So both these mantras are also sometimes called the emptiness mantras. So this is the first of the 5 awakenings. The second awakening is awakening from the sun and moon seat. Awakening from the sun and moon seat, which is the next part. So there is the sun and the moon. And in fact, here, before the sun and moon in our sadhana, there are more details given. But this is part of the second awakening. The awakening of the seat, basically. Briefly, if you want to kind of do a more concise arising, then at the very least here it says you need to have the sun disk and the moon disk. The 2 cushions. Sun disk is red, round and flat red, then moon disk white and round and flat. This is the second awakening. When you distill this to just sun and moon, then sun is wisdom, moon is compassion. Sun is on the level of, in the context and on the level of when conception happens and an embryo forms. What happens there is, right, the egg, the ovum from the mother, that's the sun. The sperm from the father, that's the moon. The red and the white. When those two come together, it's the sun and the moon stacked on top of each other. They are then to be recognized as the essence of wisdom and the essence of compassion. They become the seat. So this body that develops later out of that. Now we're talking about conception, ordinary conception. This body develops out of those 2 elements. So they are the seat of the mind. In the text that we have, they kind of make it more extensive, not just sun and moon. Instead, so now please look at page 26. In the state of emptiness, your own mind arises in the form of the letter Hung, from which light radiates. Then, from Yam comes a mandala of wind. So this is the universal wind element coming together and taking the appearance, and this is often described as half a circle, like a bow, like bow and arrow. Or maybe more accurate, it's just half a circle. And so there's a straight line with a round. And that is said to be the shape that you should think of. Green in color. So a mandala of wind. From Ram syllable, so these syllables are coming out of the Hung. Hung is the essence of your mind. So it shoots out first a yam syllable, and yam turns into this, huge. You have to think huge. Wind mandala. So if you want more details, right? The straight side is here, and then the semicircle here. Then inside this, a ram syllable comes. Now, what's going on is the mandala of fire, and this is triangular. So put that triangle into the wind mandala, stacked on top of the wind mandala. Okay, next question. How thick? Well, however thick you want them to be. Because they have height, They're not like paper thin. However high you want them to be, you're capable of feeling, imagining. So red, fire mandala. Then Vam, water mandala. Water mandala is round and white in color. So then this circle is stacked on top of the fire. Then on top is the lam, yellow color, lam, square, inside the circle. So you have big, smaller, 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 stacking on top. Now you have a square, lam, mandala of earth. Upon that, from Sum, is Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain, Sumeru. So Sum. In nature, the four precious substances. It's said that the four sides of Mount Meru are four precious, made of four precious jewels. Frankly, I don't remember which one is which, but gold is on the southern side, which is the one that we are in, the southern side of this cosmic mountain. Then upon that, from Pam, a multicolored lotus. Upon that, from Hung appears a multicolored Vajra, at the hub of which, upon a multicolored lotus, from the vowels come a moon, from the consonants come a sun. Finally, the moon and the sun. I need to fix this translation here a little bit. So for now, what you need to know is there is Mount Meru, lotus, Mount Meru, cosmic mountain, then a lotus, then from the lotus, right, sun and moon. There are a lot of details here, but when all these details are given, the author, the person who put this together, never expected you to, at the first go, getting all of this. I would say at the beginning is just going through it and just getting a sense, a feel. And then more importantly, to understand what is going on here. This is called purifying, your clearing, purifying, refining your understanding of what our physical universe truly is. And what you're doing is you're purifying, you're refining the elements uh, the elements that build up this physical universe, which is wind element, the element of motility. Fire element, the element of heat, the property of heat. Water element, the element of moisture, fluidity. Earth element, the element of solidity. And so then these, so in brief, right, physical form are the mandalas. Now, if, during Buddha's time, in the field of scientific research, people had more detailed information about the physical elements, as we have now the elements chart, right? Carbon is this, oxygen is that. And then, this arising will have a lot more details. Summarizing them into 4 elements is just down to the bare bones. When we speak of physical form, essentially what are they? They are the complex combination of these 4 elements supported by space, made possible by space. Space is not exactly an element, but space is what makes it possible for these elements to do their thing, to come in various combinations to give rise to various material form. And all of this are being refined, all of this are being purified when we meditate, when we cultivate these images. So first, just get a feel of it rather than getting bogged down by it. So again, the elements, then on top, right, it's the cosmic mountain, on top of which multicolored lotus, then sun and moon. Sun and moon. Sun first, moon on top. Then Vajra with the Hung, blue colored Vajra with a Hung syllable in the center. In the 16th century text, which elaborates and clarifies the 14th century text that we're working on, Gungarinchen clarifies that visualization. In the 14th century text, it's a little messy, perhaps textual corruption, like miscopied certain things. So in the 16th century text, he clarifies it. And in the 16th century text, he left out the vowels giving rise to the moon and the consonants giving rise to the sun. These differences also show us, or at least show me, like we don't need to be so insistent. It's definitely like this and not definitely like that. There are some general principles that is definitely like this and definitely not like that. But within those general principles of definitely like this, definitely not like that, the finer details, no need to definitely like this, definitely not like that. So don't get derailed by it definitely has to be like this and definitely not like that, okay? Anyway, so what I want to do is So be sure that you are on our WhatsApp group, yeah, the Fivefold Mahamudra WhatsApp group. In that group, I have turned off the ability to chit chat, but you can still do things like, like, because sometimes too much traffic, and I understand. So some of you have some questions, you have to look for other places to ask your questions. But for now, I'm not going to turn on the ability for everyone to post. Eventually, I may, and when I do, please be restraintful. Please practice restraint. We don't want too much traffic. Everyone already has too much traffic. But be sure that you are in this group. And then sometime later today, I'm going to share an image of Chakasamvara that corresponds with what we are talking about here. Not necessarily with all the, mandalas of the elements and the Mount Meru, but the basic form of Chakasamvara together with Vajrayogini. I'll share an image there. Yeah. So for now, you can read, continue, just so that tomorrow, when you hear more details, it's not going to be the first time you hear about how he looks and how Vajavarahi looks. But tomorrow, we will continue. For the next few classes, not so much the actual practice of this. We need to kind of go far enough into the description of this creation stage before I will do the guided meditation, the guided cultivation of this creation stage. So bear with us, bear with me as we go through and understand what is it that we are forming, what is it that we are presencing, what is it that we are manifesting for this idam practice. Okay? Tomorrow we will end earlier because I have a speaking engagement for a school here to go give a chapel talk at one of the private schools here, so we will end a little bit earlier. And then Thursday, Friday, back to the usual. Changchu sem chorim boje ma ge banam ge gyuchi ge ba nyam ba me ba yang go ne gong du bell war show. Okay, bye bye everyone. See you mañana.
Thank you.
Thank you.